Welcome to Madison, Wisconsin, as today we're in the capital of the state to see the University of Wisconsin-Madison men's hockey team, as the Badgers will do battle against the Michigan Wolverines at the iconic Kohl Center. And of course, Stadium Review episode number 34 is brought to you in partnership with Pull Tab Sports. Check out some of their content on Midwest sports and culture, as well as some bonus content from me at pulltabsports.com. Opening up in 1998, the Kohl Center is currently the home of the University of Wisconsin men's basketball team, women's basketball team, and the men's ice hockey team. The stadium is located east of campus, and it really gives you a great view of the Capitol building as you're headed there.
Can I help you? What are you barking at us?
The main front exterior of the building is super modern and open, as I really love the long grass strip out in front. And then the curving glass windows makes you feel like you're going into a big time arena. Just from the outside alone, I was super excited to get in.
There's too much good stuff here.
And I think that initial assessment when I first walked in is 100% accurate, as the lower concourse has so many awesome amenities and features that doesn't make it feel like a college stadium at all. This definitely feels like some professional level venue. And right when you walk in that north entry, you're immediately met with what's called the Mendota Wall, named after the nearby Lake Mendota, which is an authentic Dale Chihuly and includes 1,284 pieces of blown glass. Chihuly's originally from Washington, but in 1965 he came to UW-Madison because it had the nation's first ever collegiate program in glass blowing. And is also Suter family night, who have really strong connections to the Madison area, as 1980 gold medal Olympian Bob Suter is from the area and played at Wisconsin, as well as his son Ryan Suter. And if you want to learn a little bit more about them, check out my video on Bob Suter's Capitol Ice Arena, home of the Madison Capitals of the USHL. But continuing the concourse, I just absolutely loved how open it all felt, as the high ceilings mixed with the clean white aesthetic, nice red banners, and shiny tile floor really made it feel like a nice new stadium. And a lot of times when you have stadiums like this that are shared between multiple sports, it feels like it's one sports stadium more than the other, but it really didn't feel that way, as there's some really good equal representation around the stadium towards the different sports, as there were tons of different display cases all around the arena that highlighted sports that weren't even played at this stadium, as this truly felt like a great central point of the University of Wisconsin sports program. However, I think the crown jewel of that has to be the hockey jerseys wrapping around the top wall of the concourse, as it was just incredible how many great NHL names you recognize up there and how long this wall of jerseys goes for. And speaking of jerseys, of course we had to go to the pro shop.
Ooh, we're gonna have to go get a puck.
Except I got my jersey on eBay for like $50.
My jersey was $50.
And I was a huge fan of this evil looking Badger in the team shop. They had a few puck selections. I ended up going with the official game puck that says it's a great day for hockey. And I had some more fun with our Badger buddy. We also made the trek up to the upstairs concourse. And on the way, there were some great photos showing the progression of the stadium being built. The upper concourse had the same nice clean aesthetic as the lower concourse, but was a little bit smaller, and not as many concessions were open. But that's because, as you'll see in a little bit, this is a 3-tier stadium with 3 separate decks, and they actually closed the upper deck recently for hockey games.
There, it's closed.
However, they really keep the open design with giant glass windows in the concourse that let you see out to the Capitol building. That'd be a fantastic view during a day game as well. And there was a little kid zone up.
All powerful Wisconsin overlord that is Kohl's. Supper Club.
The stadium had a lot of really unique food options, which was pretty cool, but a lot of them were closed for the hockey games. Of course, I had to snag a hot dog, and they had the same type of hot dogs here that had the football games, which were really, really good, and the bun was super high quality.
Wiener review. Yep. Wieners. Good wiener? Good wiener.
I also snagged a nice thick pretzel later in the game that was pretty delicious as well. So the seating bowl is configured with 3 main decks, which can hold a maximum capacity of 17,287 for basketball or 15,359 for ice hockey. And with them closing off the top deck for ice hockey, that subtracts about 4,500 seats. But this is actually the second largest indoor venue in the state of Wisconsin and the largest outside of the Milwaukee area. And something that I immediately noticed about this, which really contributes to the size, that the ice surface is not the North American standard 200 by 85, and it's also not the Olympic size of 200 by 100. Instead, it's kind of an awkward size of 200 feet by 97, so it's 3 feet short of the Olympic size ice sheet. And I don't know if I've ever seen a venue before that has a non-standard size like this. Starting out with the lower bowl, I was actually pleasantly surprised at how comfortable and spacious the seats were. And I found it pretty interesting that the front row of seats were well above the ice surface, as you could easily see the legs of the people sitting in the front row, when normally you can just see their shoulders and head above the boards. And we jumped around a little bit and we got an even better view of that a little bit later on in the game, as it kind of has some weird spots by the corners in the player tunnels, which are actually in the corners of the arena instead of being behind the benches. So that means that all the players and coaches have to make their way from the bench down the boards and into the tunnel, which is always fun to watch the coaches do the penguin walk on the ice. But there's actually some really decent views from the lower bowl all around, and a large factor of that is just because how steep that lower bowl is. So no matter what, you're gonna have a good perspective of the ice, and you're gonna feel like you're right on top of the action. At the top of the lower deck, there is some private seating, as there's a mix of box clubs and individual suites. And I actually got a pretty good look into the one on the north end of the ice, which was super fancy with meals, TV monitors, drinks, the whole lot. Now jumping up to the second deck, and this is also where the press box is held, within the second deck seating section. There's a pretty large overhang from the third deck above, but this offers a fantastic view down to the ice. And once again, how steep these seats are really let this be a good view. And from what I can tell, there really isn't a bad seat in the house. And just how large this is doesn't make it feel like a college stadium at all. And it's actually about the same size as the Winnipeg Jets Canada Life Center in Manitoba. But due to problems filling it for ice hockey, like I stated earlier, they closed off the upper bowl for all home ice hockey games. And that does make the arena feel a little bit empty and hollow inside, as it causes those gray cement walls to really stick out a lot more than they should. But hopefully if the Badger ice hockey program can get back on the right track, maybe they can fill this barn back up someday. And those better days really aren't that far away. As we make our way up to the rafters, you can see all the national championships that this proud and historic program has to their name. Just from the homemade banners hanging above the student section, I was prepared for some awesome atmosphere. But I was really surprised that so much of that came from the band and how much the student section fed off the band's energy. If you don't know, I was in pep band all throughout college at Northern Michigan University, so I absolutely loved this. The pregame hype video was all about the legacy of the program and all their national titles that they've won, as they kind of do like a soccer thing with the 6 stars for the 6 national championships. I was actually pretty disappointed in the crowd, in the student section in particular, while announcing the players, because the stadium wasn't very full and the crowd wasn't really ripping on the goalie or the Michigan team that much. With the Wolverines being number 5 in the country at the time, Wisconsin was still searching for their second win of the season in Big Ten play. And maybe that was some of the reason why the crowd was so hushed at the beginning. But once things started to get going for the Badgers, and they knotted the game up at 2-2, the atmosphere really came alive.
did you get there?
And the most surprising part, that most of the atmosphere came from people not in the student section, is there's a big group of guys in front of us that were going crazy the whole time, and later in the game there's an old guy screaming at the Michigan bench.
Out the Michigan bench.
And the general fans were just going absolutely bonkers. The student section was a little bit weak in my opinion, but the band really made up for them, as they were absolutely killing it the entire game. And the game production was done really well, as there were a lot of different gags that got a lot of fan engagement.
Wisconsin number 21, 2 minutes slashing.
And in the end, the Badgers sealed it with an empty netter to make the final score 6-3. And things got pretty rough near the end of the game, as there were a few ejections. I absolutely love the tradition that the team has of singing the alma mater and then jumping into the glass at the end of the game. This really shows great engagement with the fans and shows that the team appreciates those cheering them on. And that's going to be it from us out here in Madison, Wisconsin. If you enjoyed this review of the Kohl Center, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see lots more videos just like this one. Thanks. Bye.